Hi, everybody. Welcome to Cosmic Ascent. I'm here with Josslyn Blackwell, and she is a spiritual healer, life coach, or not life coach, spiritual coach. How about you introduce yourself so I don't completely butcher it?
Oh yeah, totally. Same thing pretty much. I just say spiritual so I don't get in trouble pretty much. Like, because I feel like that helps you not get in so much trouble by people. But yeah,
Right.
so pretty much what I do, say I'm a spiritual life coach. I do tarot readings and energy updates. I have a YouTube channel where I kind of guide people through a multitude of things, like pretty much their awakening process, the dark night of the soul, twin flame, karmic, soulmate relationship. So I do just a huge combination of all of those things because, yeah, I've had a little bit of experience in a lot of them. So yeah, that's
So,
pretty much what I do.
so let's just go through, like, how did you get started with all of this? Or, like, how did you
Well,
start helping people going through this?
it's interesting. So I guess I'll dive into a little bit of my history to kind of lead up to, my drive behind this. And I think, it definitely started when I was younger and not really feeling accepted. I knew I was having visions and things. I was more of kind of like an empathic indigo child, kind of a combination of both, because the indigos are a little bit more rebellious, like they have a problem with authority figures and structures in society. So I was pretty much a combination of those. And but I feel like my like extrasensory abilities or psychic visions kind of got a little bit maybe hidden just because of maybe some pain and trauma that I was going throughout my, childhood development and teenage years and everything. So when I was a teenager, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And
Holy crap.
so
That's like a big
they,
one. Not even a that's
yeah,
huge.
yeah,
Wow.
it's a pretty big diagnosis. There's a lot of like negative signs and symptoms to that one, but it was kind of cool. I was talking to some people from the chat last night, and we were talking about how mental illnesses are actually gifts, but there's so much negativity and stigma behind the mental diagnoses in the first place. So it makes someone ashamed of their gifts and maybe extrasensory abilities that specifically come with each diagnosis.
Right.
So with borderlines, they have pretty much emotional issues, but it's because they're tapping into so many people's emotions and triggering their own. And so they have the ability to tap into other energies and things like that. It's like a sixth sense. So, I went through kind of a painful 20s, and then probably about like 4 or 5 years ago, I really decided I wanted to help people. I was kind of coming out of this darkness and I was like seeing these gifts. So I started really getting on my own path of healing and diving into law of attraction, really spending time with myself and nature. And I made a lot of really great changes within myself. And it kind of led me into numerology, crazy enough. So I ended up changing my whole name according
Wow.
to numerology. And because I believed in it hardcore, the numerologist I was sitting with, she was telling me all about the vibration and energy behind my old name. And it just freaking resonated so much that I was like, yeah, like, I'm just going to do it. Like, what do I
Yeah,
have to
no,
lose?
that's freaking awesome. That's definitely self-empowerment. And I've always wanted to talk to somebody who changed their name based on numerology. So that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I saw a crazy amount of changes from doing that because, like you said, it was very empowering. It was such a like, holy crap. Because you have to think about that. It's almost not the same, but almost like coming out of the closet. You literally have to tell everyone in your environment to start calling you a different name. And you wouldn't believe how much like people thought I was straight up crazy and insane. And so
Wow.
that was
Wow.
just one of those things where you just have to not give a crap about what other people think and just do what makes you happy, you know?
Right. For real. For real. I didn't
Yeah.
even think about that aspect of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, a lot of people really gave me a lot of crap about it. And it really made me feel more like confident in my decisions, you know? So it was a really good experience. So, yeah, probably about a couple years ago, I decided to like walk away from my career I had been in, and I decided to start my own coaching business, you know, and I wanted to be a public speaker. So I wanted to specifically help people get out of like narcissistic or toxic or abusive relationships because that was the experience I had. And at the time, you know, like I went through a crazy amount of stuff. Oh man, pretty much every single thing in my life fell apart like all at once, right when I walked away from my job and right when I started my business. So I felt like I pretty much lost my mind. Like I went through a huge amount of like panic attacks, paranoia, and so I decided to pretty much just live out of my car for a few months, and off and on, like I still had a place I was sleeping at like once a week, and I would shower and stuff because yeah,
Yeah.
that like is not enjoyable.
Right.
So
Like crap.
so yeah, I joined a Buddhist sangha and I was meditating every day and just kind of sleeping in my car and trying to figure out life, really trying to, that was pretty much my dark night of the soul, was yeah, going through that experience. And I documented the whole thing. The thing I found was really fascinating about the whole dark night of the soul is I feel like it's kind of like a psychological travel back in time to the moments where you've felt shame or guilt
Right. Yeah.
about anything, and you live those experiences like
Yeah. Exactly.
legit. Or so that was the crazy thing as I was seeing, is I was seeing my reflection in other people. I just had, you know, a complete third eye awakening. Like I was just seeing the mirror in all of the relationships around me.
Right.
So it was a very big growth experience. And then after that, I had to like go back home and heal. And after that, I started, because I was having a lot of health issues. And obviously, I'd gone semi-insane from the whole experience. Like, it was just really traumatic. So I went vegan. I started taking a lot of herbs, doing a lot of cleanses, and now I've been coming out of it and just really wanting to help people through those experiences. So, yeah, that's kind of like the general gist.
Wow, that's such an amazing story. I don't even know where to dive in, but I will
Yeah.
say, like, at least, or not at least, but it's really good that you, while you're going through this process, like, went to healthier things, you know, like you went vegan, and I forgot the last part of what you said, but just like it sounds like you were able to really like recognize what you were going through and react in a way that was like, okay, I've got to help myself get through this. And that's really inspiring as somebody who, like, you know, I had no idea what the hell was going on when I had my dark night of the soul, and kind of went the other route, you know, self-medicating in not such a great way. So why do you think it is that this seems to be happening at such an extensive rate at this point in time specifically? Or do you think that it's always been happening, that people have been going through this dark night of the soul experience and kind of like having all of their subconscious manifest around them, I would say? perhaps, so that they can recognize what it is about them that needs to be healed? Do you think it's anything to do with the times, or has it always happened?
Well, I think that it's happened occasionally, like because there have been, I call them more aware or conscious people in the past that have been kind of catalysts for us. Like I would say Abraham Hicks and Alan Watts and, you know, those people that we know of that are really making a difference that are maybe in older generations, but now we're at such a like a peak moment in history where so many people are waking up, because it kind of comes back to pain is it's our catalyst for awakening. The more pain you've been through, it's like a freaking big motivator. When you go through pain,
Right.
you come out of it and you're like, what the crap just happened? Like, why did that happen? And then you start really researching, because pain motivates you to
Figure out
not
why the
want it
hell
to
you're
happen
working.
again. Yeah. You're like, I don't want that crap to happen again. So you start looking into yourself, you know, like you start looking at everything around you to try to change that. So I feel like with each generation, and the experiences that we're going through in society, it's getting more and more painful. But it's a good thing, because it's causing us to awaken and be more accountable and responsible for ourselves and like the energy that we're putting out into the universe and how we're showing up into relationships. So yeah, I
Right.
do think it happened to an extent, but now we're just at this like peak, you know, lots of people are waking up, and this is becoming more acceptable for people like us, you know,
Right.
spiritual
Right.
or that type of thing, you know?
Right. And it's interesting when you were saying that you were diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And I guess the reason I had such a, like, I was really shocked by that is because I've always, like, I was diagnosed with ADHD. And I look at some of my peers now who are growing up and getting, like, I have friends that are now getting diagnosed as bipolar and, like, manic depressive and all of these, a lot, I would say, harder diagnosis than I received. But I can
Yeah.
remember being like 15, 16, and um it was like I all of a sudden I'm looking around and I'm like, wait, is this it? You know, is this what people expect me to do for the rest of my life? And I start looking up mental illnesses. I'm like, something must be wrong with me. And I can remember identifying heavily with, you know, the whole borderline personality disorder. And so then when you went on to say it was more of an emotional thing, I can really connect with that because um, like you were saying, picking up on the energy of people around you and the fact that like we're in a society where people are constantly being traumatized, and a lot of people are able to kind of push it back, but that energy and that emotion is still there. So, you know, we're picking up on all of this stuff, and it would drive anybody to the point of appearing crazy. You know what I mean? Because you're just so full of all of these emotions and energy, and you just want like to figure out why it is that you're the only one that seems to be feeling it or aware that you're feeling it. So I think it is so awesome that you can say that, you know, yeah, I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, but I wasn't insane.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what was going on. And so, yeah, how has that shown up in the people that you've worked with? Is it a lot of the same situations, like in romantic relationships or family relationships? Or what is the, I guess, differences and similarities? What are
On
the differences and similarities?
on like being a borderline, is that what you're saying?
No,
Like,
no, on this whole like dark night of the soul, like in your experience with coaching people.
oh, dude. Um, yeah, it absolutely was a combination of things. Like I definitely saw it with all of all of my personal relationships, all of them. But the fascinating thing that I saw was, and this is why I have a very, very different perspective on being an empath. Okay, like honestly, the things that I say sometimes about empaths, like people resonate with it, but it kind of
They
triggers
don't really,
people.
sometimes it's like, you don't really know though, like, or sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. Sometimes
No,
I
you're
look at
fine.
people that say they're empaths and it's like, okay, if you
Yeah.
say so.
Yeah. That's why, you know, like I've made a lot of videos about this and it kind of upsets people because I always read all these articles and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm an empath. Like I have all these things. But I specifically made a video about this and yeah, I get a lot of mixed reactions about it, but being an empath, it's not a gift. This is gonna upset some people.
I
It's
agree with that. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. When
yeah,
I get intent behind it. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, like the thing that I started to realize is being an empath, and this is why I dive so much into narcissism, because I've, you know, experienced so many narcissistic relationships, like boyfriends and all of that. So if you're an empath, like I'm gonna say straight up, I know this is a very bold claim to make, then you had a narcissistic upbringing, like straight up. And an empath is pretty much the scapegoat in the family. And the thing that they were taught the most is they were taught by their narcissistic parent to focus their observation on the needs and emotions and feelings of all the people around them, and specifically the narcissist. They were taught that. So when an empath is empathing, they are picking up on the emotions and the energy of people around them, but it's actually just triggering all the emotions that have been stored in their own body. So that's why they feel so drained, like going around other people, why they tend to be a little bit more introverted and need a lot of time to themselves. It's because they haven't been taught how to really like feel their emotions and deal with all of the emotions stored in their cells that were projected at them from their narcissistic parent. Because narcissists operate from the low vibrational emotions of shame, guilt, and fear. So that's all
Right.
that empathing is. So empaths think that they have these amazing abilities, and empathing is actually like, it's of no use to anyone. It really is like nothing. You can turn it into a gift or ability. You can. Once you
Right.
become grounded and centered in yourself, then you're able to use that ability to help other people. So that's what I specifically like doing, is helping especially other empaths figure out how to get grounded within themselves so that they can help other people and use that as a gift.
Wow. Wow. Well, that is awesome. Like, that is so awesome. So I noticed in your videos you tie a lot into quantum physics, and you talk a lot about how like this narcissism is kind of pushed in our society. So do you think that narcissists are born or created?
They're created. I mean, first of all, it's all a pattern of thoughts, beliefs, and brain chemicals that have been passed down from generation to generation. And that's why in my videos I talk about how, like, I mean, even going back to cavemen or whoever started this society, I have mixed feelings because I follow Graham Hancock, and you know, like I feel like a little bit of our history has been distorted and changed a little
Right.
bit.
I agree with that. I
So,
agree. Or that we
so,
just
but
don't even know what the hell it actually is. Like,
yeah,
I ask people that a lot when they talk about history, not to get on too big of a tangent, but like, well, how would we know? You know, all this stuff that we base
mhm,
our current reality on. How do we know that really though? Because who was there? Who's
yeah,
been there and verify it now? You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I'm the same. I'm the
Wow.
same exact way. That's why, you know, I'm very choosy about the information that I choose to read and, I guess, entangle with, because everything that's been written has been written from the perspective of a human, and they're going to be projecting their own emotions, beliefs, and thoughts into it. So you have to be very careful about the content and information that you're taking in, you know?
Well, yeah, and then especially too, you were saying that a lot of people have had maybe adverse reactions to some of the things that you put out, and I've noticed this also occurring, and I am sure that you must get like this association all the time, but I think of somebody like Teal Swan, right, who gets a lot of flack, a lot of flack, and I don't understand really. I just don't understand it, you know, and I almost feel like it's something to do with perhaps there are a lot of narcissistic tendencies. Like, even as somebody who identifies as an empath, I was also able to recognize that, like, growing up, I had very narcissistic ways of acting and dealing with other people. And so perhaps it's just it's just too real for some people. I'm not sure, but it's definitely a phenomena, and especially it seems mostly with females, that there's such a like desire to, like, I don't even know how to explain it, but it's really crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a combination. I love that you brought up Teal because, yeah, I watch her a lot. She has, I always resonated in a way. I don't really watch a lot of her videos because I'm very torn about how many haters she has and how much that it could be a reflection of her. But yes, at the same time, like, she is being a very empowered female, coming out and talking about a lot of really touchy subjects that are very shameful in society. So you start talking about that stuff, it's going to be triggering people like crazy. So yeah, I've got a lot of mixed feelings on that whole subject and her, and I like love / I'm very cautious about her, you know, like,
Right. You're
I don't
awesome.
know.
I like you. I like you. That's really crazy that you said that, because I am like the same way. You know, at first I was kind of like, well, these are really fucked up things like that people are listing out that she's said or done. And then I kind of hear her input on it, and I'm like, well, I could definitely see something like this happening to me if I were to be, like, you know, putting myself out there. I guess, like, she kind of does it unapologetically, but I
Yeah.
do about it. So it's awesome that you're able to look at that and be wary and learn from that.
Well, there was one thing that I watched her say, how I think she did an interview kind of talking about how, like, wanting to talk about the allegations that have made about her. And she specifically said, I wish that I had never really talked about my past and my trauma because I feel like it took away from my message. And that's kind of the direction that I'm deciding to take is, there are some things I feel like you can keep personal and to yourself about your own trauma, because honestly, I don't know a lot of people these days that haven't been through trauma or pain. So those things I decide to keep personal. And I feel like, yeah, when you start talking about your own trauma and things of that nature, it just freaking triggers people
Well,
so much.
especially the whole childhood, like the molestation stuff, and the like, that she was in a satanic cult. I think it was almost like too soon or too close to the whole Pizzagate era. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
Yeah.
so it's like you have this instance where there's like a lot of like at home investigations going on, and people putting
Yeah.
their inputs into things that are really hard to prove.
Yeah.
And so you can't find proof for it, or just because I think people have a hard time conceptualizing that things like this can happen, that people do these things.
Yeah.
that's perhaps why it was like, oh, that can't be true. And how is it, you did this and this and this. Skull Babylon, actually from Paradigm Shift Central, just posted a question. And he said, what do we feel we can learn as conscious media creators based on what you observe about Teal Swan's success?
Say that again, because I feel like I need to come up with my answer. He always gives the best questions.
I know. I was like, that's a really good question. What do you feel we can learn as conscious media creators based on what you observe about Teal Swan's success?
I think exactly what I was just saying is keeping, really just letting your content speak for itself. Like, I feel like there's a very big balance in being aware of the messages that you're putting out there and being aware of how much you are projecting from yourself. So when you start shaming even the government, I have a really big issue with that sometimes, where I get caught up in being an activist and I want to shame the government, but I just get caught in the whole cycle of shaming and guilting, and that really doesn't get us anywhere in society. The real solutions are vibrating from love, peace, joy, and light, like these higher vibrations. It really, truly is the path to making changes in our society. So yeah, like it's a very fine line, being a conscious media creator and balancing that line, like helping people to be aware of maybe their traumas so that they can heal, and then teaching them how to choose a different way, how to change their thought patterns and those brain chemical releases behind them, and really getting tapped into the universe and getting into synchronicities, like teaching people how to take that path is the way to help and make a difference in society.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. And I'll just tag a little onto that. One thing that I really took in, because I think it's so crazy. Like, I love Ralph Smart as well. And so I've seen their interviews together, right? And she's just like, well, how do you deal with the fact that people are always hating on me? Basically, I feel so bad because she's like, everybody's just talking crap. And he's like, like, I don't know, maybe just stop feeding into it, like, because he doesn't receive as much flack. And so I realized that I don't want to like become some kind of like front runner for this conscious awakening, for this spiritual enlightenment, because when that happens, like you were saying, it almost creates this wall between the people you are like making content for and yourself and your personal journey. And so a lot of times, like, I try not to like feed into like my like guruism, like, you know what I mean? I don't want to be on a stage with thousands of people asking me questions and me like giving like I'm some kind of absolute authority, because in the same sense, every experience is different and nobody is perfect. And when you're pushing this spiritual thing, like this spiritual message, and then people turn around and say, oh, you said to do this, but you didn't do that, or like they just kind of try to catch you being human, when you err, and it can detract from the message of conscious awakening and spirituality. So I just try to like keep it real, and like I'm not afraid to admit when I have put my foot in my mouth, so to say, you know what I mean? Or that's one thing that I've learned.
Well, and I do feel like she does get a lot of flack too. I mean, not only from talking about her past and the trauma she's been through, but even like you were saying, to to paint yourself and to come out and label yourself as like a guru or a spiritual leader, or, you know, if you watch other people, like say for example, you know, Eckhart Tolle, I hear so
Yeah,
many
I don't
different
know how to
ways his
say his
name
name. I
is
always
said.
say Tully.
Yeah, me too. But they don't specifically come right out, and I do know that both of them still have haters. Like that's going to be everywhere, but at the same time they've never really painted themselves, like come right out and said I'm
a
this.
guru.
Yeah, I've never heard either of them say that specifically. So I think, yes, it just comes down to like your content will speak for itself. You don't really have to, even me coming out and saying like, oh, I have these abilities, like even that, people will probably question that, like question the validity. That's always going to happen. But yeah,
Right.
I think there is that combination of speaking your truth and knowing who you are and what you have the ability of doing, and then just, yeah, like really making content that will help people, because your content will speak for itself, you know?
Exactly. Exactly. Um, yeah. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot of
Yeah, that's
really
good
cool stuff
stuff.
that I've thought about and really wanted to talk to somebody about for a while. So it's really awesome that we're able to connect on that. So I think I asked a little bit about how this all relates to like quantum physics. Um, but I may have gone off on a tangent at the end of the question and it steered somewhere else. So how does this tie in to science and quantum physics in your opinion?
So yeah, that's kind of what my content is about too, because I make a combination of things where, because after I started, you know, I had already had kind of a basis and knowledge of spirituality. In my early 20s, I was like freaking obsessed with astrology, chakras, numerology. And the fascinating thing is now, like, especially having more health issues, I started diving more into science and quantum physics and biology and psychology. And once I started to research those, I was like, dude, they're so compatible with spirituality, with all of them completely complement each other. So that's where I started really like observing the relationships around me and understanding that quantum physics completely um like explains how we converse in relationships, how we come together in the first place. Because say for example, entanglement is when two quantum entities, like two electrons, come into contact with each other, and once they've come into relationship with each other, they stay aware of each other's existence and affect each other's behavior. So think about
Woo.
that. Like
I
it completely makes sense when you relate it on a human level. Our bodies, we consist of about 7 times 10 to the 27th atoms. So I just
Holy
don't
crap.
understand how people don't like make those connections together. So that's been my whole focus, and my whole passion is really like helping people to understand that, like say for instance, you know, when you think of a person and then like they call you or text you, like
Oh,
that is entanglement
yeah.
right there. You know,
Well,
you're
beyond
affecting each other's behavior.
that, or not beyond that, but to go more with that, like even in positive ways and negative ways, right? Like, I was telling you a little bit before we started about kind of a karmic catalyst or whatever the hell you want to call it, that was in my life. And I could remember in the beginning, and perhaps it was just me kind of tuning into my own sense of like telepathy, or, but like I could almost tell, right, that like we were thinking about similar things or thinking about things at the same time. And there was even a point where I had first started like meditating before going to sleep, and I could remember like reading something about telepathy, and like this was when I was so into the whole twin flame concept, right? And I'm like, you're my twin, oh. And so, and this, I was reading about telepathic connection and how asking permission, right? And so I could remember like getting a very clear image of this person in my mind and saying, you know, like, oh, is this okay? Like, do I have permission to do this? And him saying yes. And then I just like jolted up out of bed. He texted me 5 minutes after that and was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
So like, I will say that we definitely experience these entanglements, and I guess I'll just let you go on more about that because I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about it. Yeah.
With the quantum physics or twin flames? Because I got a lot to say about both.
Actually both. That's why I got out a notepad, because I was like, I need to write this shit down when it comes up so I don't forget it later. But just to let's keep going on the quantum physics for now.
Well, okay, so the quantum physics, the thing that I've noticed, okay, and this is where I'm going to tie in a little bit of chemistry as well, okay? So, okay, bear with me because I'm probably going to go off on a tangent and I'll try to make sense.
You're fine.
The information will just come. So, we know of like an atom, and we've got the protons and the neutrons in the nucleus, and then we've got the electrons orbiting around the nucleus. Yeah, like we all know that. So the way that an atom gets its energy is the electrons will absorb photons of light. And this can be from anywhere. It's pretty much from any source that is providing heat, which can be from humans because we're made up of heat. It can be from the sun because that's where we receive our energy source. It can be from all these multiple places and sources. So the electron will receive a photon of light, and when it gains that energy, when it gains a specific amount of energy, it will move up in orbit around the nucleus, okay? And then when it gets to its highest state of orbit, then it will go back down, and as it goes back down, it will emit out a light. And this will look like a very specific color, okay? So again, think about how many atoms are inside of your body, all right?
Right.
So this is where your thoughts tie into things, because your thoughts will produce a brain chemical, and the brain chemical has a very specific energy tied to it. So when you're releasing that chemical into your body and it's feeding the cells, which is also feeding the atoms, it's feeding those electrons to either stay in its orbit or to move up in energy. And this is where, when you're thinking like love, peace, joy, enlightenment kind of thoughts, you're giving your body like a high amount of energy.
You can almost feel what you're talking about happening. Like, it's like you feel like you're radiating something.
Yeah.
Like, there are times where I'm like, am I like glowing right now? Because I feel like I am.
Yeah.
When I'm in deep study. Wow.
Absolutely. And so that's why when you get to a very specific place, like chemically within your body, where you've actually taken the time to create a relationship with yourself, you've done a significant amount of healing when it comes to the shameful shadow aspects of yourself. So because if your cells and your atoms are vibrating at that low energy of shame, guilt, and fear, then that's what your body is vibrating at. So when you've taken the time to heal by really doing simple things, going out and being in nature, in the sun, because you're getting a higher energy source, feeling love and gratitude, and purposefully changing your thoughts, then you will start healing the shameful aspects of yourself. So this is where it ties into relationships and twin flames, okay? Your relationships are going to completely mirror exactly the emotional state that you're vibrating at, right? Like, we all kind of know that. So they can be a different type of mirror. It can look like a multitude of ways. It can either be the emotion that you're vibrating at, or they can even mirror relationships from your childhood that created the shame in the very first place.
Right.
They'll, like, say, for example, you had a brother that would shame you. You literally will attract relationships that mirror your brother until you confront that aspect of yourself and learn how to change the brain chemical releases about that relationship. That's all it is. So once you come to a specific point in healing within yourself is when you'll move past like karmic relationships and you do attract a twin flame. Okay. And it is usually after you've gone through a dark night of the soul. And to be honest, like I didn't even believe in any of this stuff. I thought like soulmates and all that was kind of BS once I started diving into science and everything. Until I met mine. And then my world was like, what? Like I was like mind blown because meeting a twin, everything that they say about a twin is completely accurate. Like your gifts and abilities will magnify from this relationship. When I met mine, all of a sudden my psychic visions started coming back, and this is completely legit. I know probably people will be like, what? Like it completely happened. I would see visions of things that were happening like about the future, and that's why I was like, wow, like the combination has to happen between science and spirituality.
Oh my God, yes, I'm so
compatible.
for that. Well, they're compatible, and also like the stuff about quantum physics needs to come more out in the open. I was thinking about that on that live stream when we had my friend Otho on, and he was explaining like that like a lot of these pop culture scientists don't really dive into quantum physics, and I wonder if it's not intentional in that sense, or not intentional, but they gloss over it because of, you know, personal bias or things of that nature.
Well, they gloss over it, and honestly, from what I've seen too, you know, the things that I've researched about it, like they just get uncomfortable because there are so many things that are unanswerable about quantum physics. Like I've heard multiple physicists say straight up, it's just magic. You can't explain why. So that makes them uncomfortable. And that's why a lot of people have even passed it off as philosophy because, well, crap, if human minds can't compute and come up with answers to these problems, like, let's just put it to the side. We'll leave it over there because they're like, let's not even deal with it because it makes everyone really uncomfortable. You know, that's like the realism of it, you know?
Right.
But it completely happens in our relationships. And so like, this is the other thing with relationships. Okay. Like, so this is where, again, in my videos, I dive into free radicals. Okay. And you're probably going to be like, what? Like, what are you talking about?
I've never like really gotten into free radicals, surprisingly enough. So yeah, no, that's a new concept for me. Go ahead.
Okay. So free radicals, I like to call them the man-made molecule, the narcissistic molecule, or like the energy vampire molecule. And
holy crap,
it's pretty much a molecule that is missing an electron. Okay, so it's got a low energy, and it's in a multitude of things. It's in the toxins in our air, it's in chemicals, it's in tons of things, like the chemicals that's in our food, like processed food, meats, cooked oils, the chemicals even on our produce. So it's in a variety of things, and it's also linked to the brain chemical cortisol. Okay, so keep all of that in mind.
Wow, so the adrenaline.
yeah, like it's completely linked. So when a free radical enters into our body or our organism, it will literally go up to one of the healthy cells in our body and steal an electron that it needs. Okay, so this is the cause of all 99 plus mental illnesses and physical diseases.
Oh so, my God, that makes so much sense. Holy
right?
shit.
Right? I was mind blown when I read that, because all of the dots started connecting. I was like, wow. And this is how your cells start attacking each other, because once a cell is missing an electron, it will steal from the one neighboring it, and it just turns into this,
like frenzy of like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my
god. Yeah, I'm losing energy, I'm gonna take from someone else.
Like, freaking out, like, oh my god, I need this, you know what I'm saying? Like, wow.
Completely. So this is how I relate it to humans as well. Like when I've been in toxic or abusive relationships, like sometimes I'll look at that person and I'm like, and I can see literally how many free radicals they're completely made up of, because since their cells are attacking each other within themselves, they will start taking energy from the people outside of them in their environment.
Right. Wow.
Right? So this is how narcissism or energy vampires, they're stealing energy.
It's so crazy.
Right?
And it's
like,
crazy
it's not a
because
trip.
when we experience it, like I was saying with this karmic relationship, especially this last night and a few days ago, or just over the last few weeks, it's been coming up for processing. And then this last week, it was like, here it is. You can like feel that something is happening, like something is going on at a certain point. And when you reach a certain level of awareness that like, okay, you're just playing fucking games with me, but it's beyond that. It's like it's eerie almost, that like, wow, it's really eerie that you're saying that. And it makes sense why now in modern day we have so many more diseases and mental illnesses than we did back then, because of the free radicals and everything like we fucking touched essentially. So wow, that's huge.
Because the pain has built up so much in each generation as time has gone on, because fear, shame, and guilt has always been there to an extent. But when you start adding in, like, say for instance, the fear behind poverty, okay? Think about all the stress of not having money or food to eat or living in a safe house. So people will start creating organizations, businesses, everything based off of that fear. And when you do that, then you start even building products and chemicals that are based around fear.
Scarcity.
Because of entanglement. Because of entanglement and like quantum physics and quantum tunneling, like down to that core of quantum physics, you're entangling with things and you're projecting your own fear, shame, and guilt into whatever you're creating.
Exactly. And that's like, wow, it's really awesome that it all ties together, like even why we're having this conversation, because that's like the basis of this collective impact. And not to get off too much on a tangent about that, but just like one thing that I'm really trying to like get through is that like you guys are operating from a place of scarcity and you're working with people who are in a place of scarcity. So how are you putting yourself in any position to help, or not to help, but like to ease their sufferings if like from a basic level you're suffering in the exact same way, you know? Wow. I don't mean to, like, this is kind of random, but when you were talking about the free radicals, right, and the cells going crazy, do you remember SpongeBob? You remember SpongeBob?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know that episode where he like totally, I think it's the one where he decides that he's gonna be like normal.
I haven't watched a lot of episodes, so I don't know which one it would be, but just tell me and I'll go off of it.
Okay, so it's really eerie, right? Like I can't remember what starts it. I think it's like Squidward, you know, being bitch ass Squidward, like, and he's like, why can't you just be normal? And he's like, all right, I'll try it. And so like through the show he goes through this series of like almost transformation. So by the end of it, like there's no holes. He's like rounded out. He's got, you know what I mean? Like he works a corporate job where he sits at a desk all day. And then it like goes into his head. There's like a breaking point, a point where everything snaps, right? Because in his mind, it's showing like an office of people and them like typing up all of his thoughts and putting them away in file cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
And so something gets misfiled or whatever, and before you know it, like in his head, you know, this organization is like burning to the ground and everything is freaking out, and he snaps and he loses it, and he realizes that like, dude, this is not who I fucking am, and I can't operate this way without going crazy. I'm not doing a good job of explaining the episode, but that's like the gist of it. And it's like, holy fucking shit, like holy shit, it's like it's in everything, you know what I mean? That the way we're living now is not conducive to our mental health. Wow.
Yeah, because even that alone right there, that to me in a way explains the whole dynamic of like empaths, or you know, people that give away their energy or their power, because in a way that they were taught to do that in the first place. So yeah, when you're choosing to conform and to fit the needs of other people and pleasing other people rather than just going off of what feels natural and good to you, you're giving away your power. You're literally even giving away your energy, like your photons of energy.
Like in my case,
depleting yourself
in a way for no reason, you know, to somebody who isn't appreciating it, you know.
Yeah, and they'll never provide your happiness. So yeah, it really all comes down to you, like making choices, deciding to put your happiness over others.
Wow. Or bring it to the same level, you know, because I noticed too, like with some spiritual people, or even in myself, a lot of my early journeys was like, we have to be in opposition, we have to fight this, and now I'm very wary of doing that, because I realize that like, well, I don't want to like put myself in a position to do that to anybody else. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really can be such a confusing experience, like you were saying, like what the hell. So that's awesome that's the line of work you're in, because I can say it's definitely needed.
Yeah, I mean, even I'm watching all these riots in France, and it's just like fascinating to watch, because the government will always be there to trigger us, because they represent that narcissistic parent to us. So like literally every time you go up against them in a confrontational way,
And
in
throw
a
a fucking
shame,
fit,
guilt, fear way, they're just triggering you because of like authority figures and people. You're giving away your power by thinking that someone in authority like that has control over you, because the way to liberate yourself and free yourself from that is by taking power and control of your life and your thoughts and the chemicals. Because I'll tell you right now, the government doesn't have shit on when you start connecting to the universe and the synchronicities.
Yeah, they don't know shit about that.
Like, yeah, and that's how I was for a very long time. I was like, screw the government, screw society. Like, I was all like activist. And once I started really focusing on like just changing my thoughts, dude, the synchronicities are freaking powerful.
Intense.
They're amazing.
It becomes something that like, you know, for me it was very drastic. Like
Yeah.
Once I learned to start cutting people off, like it was just like boom, synchronicity, boom, synchronicity. And it's amazing because it's such a special, like they're personal things, but it seems like such undeniable proof that like you are connected to something. You know what I mean?
And that part is exciting in and of itself. When you start seeing the synchronicities, that gets exciting. And then when you start having instant manifestations, like deliberately thinking, I want this, and then it happens, you're like, holy crap, I'm a badass, you know?
Right. Like that literally happened to me yesterday. All week I've been thinking like, all right, I really want to get things going with Cosmic Ascent, and I would like to put like, you know, kind of like collate a group like fund account, you know, for like websites or whatever the hell we might need like as individuals and as a group. And then like yesterday, you know, my dad called me and he's like, hey, I sent you some money, and normally it'll be like $50, $100, and it was actually like quite a hefty sum, and I was just like, oh my god, like,
Yeah,
thank you so much, I can't even believe it. So yeah, it gets, I'm getting to the point where it's like, holy shit, things are getting almost okay, like things are pretty all right.
Yeah, totally. That's the thing I've been experiencing too, is changing my mindset to I have enough to give, and the more I give to people, I'm just like amazed at the miracles and the synchronicities that happen when I do that. You know, like it's so awesome. I can't even explain it or put it into words. It's just really beautiful to watch.
Right. So when you were talking about the France thing, because a lot of this has come up like a lot. I've seen a lot of feeds about it. I've heard a lot of people talk about it. And some people are like, yeah, that's what we need to do. And I watch it and I think, who would have thought? Like, you know, everybody is expecting us to kind of implode on ourselves over here in America. So to see something like this happening in France, to me, is like, in a way is like, I think it may be just like a collective kind of projection thing. I don't know quite how to explain that theory that I've been ruminating on for the last few months, but perhaps this is honestly just something that is like happening to show us like what we should not do, and like, or not what we should not do, like we should stand up and like, you know, empower ourselves and come to the realization that like this system was supposed to be created by us for us, and it's not. So let's stop operating under these rules, under these circumstances, and let's start to create something new, versus we're going to burn this whole thing to the damn ground. Like,
yeah,
what
totally.
are your views on that? Because a lot of people are really still for the kind of violent revolution. I don't mean violent in a bad way. I think it's justifiable. But I don't think that we would want to turn ourselves into that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why in my videos I talk about how much our society mirrors the narcissistic family dynamic, because
Right.
we've got the organizations and entities, or, you know, like collective that's in control, that manipulates and has control over the people and what they do and say. And then you've got scapegoats in society, you've got golden children. Like, that's pretty much the whole narcissistic family dynamic. And so we have that literally set up in society, all based around shame, guilt, and fear. And that's the thing I dive into my videos, is all the things that are considered golden children in society and all the things that are considered scapegoats. So we're all just mirroring the exact psychological dynamic we grew up with. So that's why I was saying earlier, you know, when we come out and try to shame the government, we're just caught in this trap of getting triggered by authority figures, you know, like, because it's a mirror of the fact that we had parents that were that controlling aspect of our lives. You know, they wanted us to fit their needs rather than maybe encouraging us to go out and find what works best for us. Like, they use shame, guilt, and fear. So it's all based around like the quantum physics and the brain chemical releases that we grew up with. And we're just constantly getting triggered by not only personal relationships in our life, but by society, by authority figures, by politicians, by the government, by everything. They're just all it is they're triggering the chemicals stored in your cells. That's it. So you've got to change the chemical releases. That's all it comes down to. Change your thoughts, change your brain chemical releases, because you will keep getting caught in the cycle if you keep shaming them and choosing violence or anger.
As opposed to, you know, trying to create alternative solutions.
Yeah. Now there is an aspect too, like where you move up those vibrational scales of emotion. Yeah, because we're aware of that. Like the lowest ones are shame, guilt, and fear, and then you move up to like apathy and grief and anger and courage, and then like willingness, acceptance, like those, and then all the way up until you get to love, peace, joy, and enlightenment. So there is an aspect where, yeah, it is a little bit better to feel anger rather than shame and guilt, because anger has movement to it. So again, it's a brain chemical release that's feeding those atoms to move up in orbit, if you think about it that way.
Right.
So, but are you getting caught in the trap where you're going to go back down to shame, guilt, and fear? Or are you using it as a catalyst to move up into love, peace, joy, and enlightenment? So it can be a positive thing. It just depends on where your thoughts are headed from there.
Right. And I was I'm really fascinated by religious concepts, or not religious concepts, just the way we use story, mythology, the different ways we are able to express like what is happening and what is going on. And so last night, I was reading up on like, you know, the Hebrew Bible and their concept of like the Satan, or whatever you want to call it, like the Satan, right? And how the whole concept of like these blockages, these obstacles and instances that our first inclination is to like tamp down and fight against, and that it's bad, like you were saying, are actually good, because they provide that motivation. Like without this all happening, we wouldn't be able to really raise ourselves to the heights that we're going to be able to. And so that like whenever you kind of like project that there is this evil that is ruling the world, right? And it is prevalent in the world, but I wouldn't say ruling it. You know what I mean? Like there's like an understanding that everything still happens for the reason of love, you know, and the reason of growth and the reason of like enlightenment and empowerment, and that the opposed, or the Satan, right, is there so that we can not be comfortable, not get stagnant, you know what I mean? So I think it's a really interesting parallel. So I was wondering if maybe we could open up the forum a bit, if you wouldn't mind, and rather than it being like a round table like we've kind of done before, maybe for people to come on and like ask you questions and things like that, if you would like to.
I would love that.
Okay, awesome. So I'm posting this in the chat now, the live chat. I don't know if everybody will be able to get it, because some people were saying that it wasn't working on YouTube the last time.
Okay.
So if you can join in, feel free. If the link's not working, private message me or figure it out. I don't know. And I'm posting it on Paradigm Shift. Oh, okay, that's a good question. So how'd you find Paradigm Shift?
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was awesome. Brendan messaged me on Instagram, and
that is so awesome.
I was like, why not? So that was kind of the first time I've been kind of in hermit mode for a while. So this is kind of the first time coming out and like really putting my content out there. And so yeah, I love that group. I'm so grateful he reached out to me. So
yeah, it's really it's something else. Like I've always been one like at the forefront of like digital communications can help us, you know, reconnect with each other and can be used as something for good. And I had a lot of like older friends, you know, that were like shamans or very spiritually inclined people that were like, no, no, you know, the computer's going to eat your soul and, you know, technology is going to be the death of us. And it's like, well, look what we've been able to actually like do for each other and provide for each other. And it's like a real thing. Like it's real helpful validation and support. It's just, it's like, it's awesome.
yeah, I
Hey,
agree.
Rainbow Phoenix.
Hey,
We got a
you mentioned Hasatan. Hello. You mentioned Satan, Hasatan, Lucifer, and in the past few years, it has come to my full and complete attention. And I have made a video about it on my channel about Revelation, I believe it is 13. Let me double check this. And what does revelation mean? Pretty much it means the same thing as epiphany, which is to understand. It's Revelation 22:13. So I was close. In that book of the Bible, it says, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. So what Christ is saying is, I was the Lucifer, and now I have evolved into the Christ, the transfiguration on the mount, which is the pineal gland in your mind, you know. So I was once that judgmental SOB in the beginning that said, thou shalt not. But now I am saying, thou shalt do what thou wilt, as long as it's right.
Exactly. And so I'll ask you, we know, Rainbow Phoenix, that like, you know, for these, like I was saying, I love looking at different cultures, different religions, and finding the connecting principles.
Yeah, I
And so what are your views on that, Josslyn? How do you deal with that? Because it's a hard line to walk. Like,
it is.
Are you ready? I mean, it might ruffle some feathers, but yeah, this is my whole take on God, Satan, religion,
right.
even Christ
Not talking
is like even so. Let's go back to narcissism. Narcissism is about putting people on a pedestal, and narcissism has been kind of prevalent since the beginning of time because it's been based around the emotions of shame, guilt, and fear. So it's all about having a grandiose image and, you know, to cover up that shame, guilt, and fear. It's like double aspects
Or even
of
putting
ourselves.
that on somebody else so that we can justify
Yes.
our own guilt and fear. That is such a good point. Hey, Summer Dawn.
Summer!
What my main point is that we all start out being Luciferian, and eventually through our spiritual evolution, we become Christed.
Well, the thing is that humans have painted this picture of Satan and Lucifer, but it's really just a projection of their own shame, guilt, and fear. It's another projection of the psychological dynamic they grew up with of having like a scapegoat and a golden child and then a narcissistic parent. So they completed that same, they've completely projected their own psychological dynamic in their head onto like God and Satan and Christ. Okay. And Christ, I look up to him a lot. I research a lot about him because I do feel like he was an enlightened being here on earth to kind of show the way. But man has completely projected all of their shame, guilt, and fear onto God and even Satan. They've painted Satan as this scapegoat, kind of like,
right, or as this powerful deity. Sorry, not to
the
interrupt you.
devil made me do it, you know, blah blah blah.
yeah, totally. So that's where, you know, I have really mixed feelings. I'm more of an energy and vibration kind of person. So the way I look at like maybe lower or dark energies, if you want to call them, or like Satan or the devil, I don't really look at it that way because I feel like it's kind of disempowering to feel like those have like demons and things like that have control over us. I don't believe in it at all.
Right.
And but that's my own take. It's just because I choose not to give my attention and entangle with those darker energies and aspects in life because I don't see the use of it. You know,
well, and you don't want to give them a body. I don't give them a body to exist in, if that makes sense, or a thought to enter into, to come into my perception. And when it does come into my perception, you know, I can use this to, or like when I feel low vibes, maybe, right? Like I can either freak out and be like, oh my God, there's demons around me, there's demons and people, and like the whole world is just an empire of Satan. And it's like, I can do that, and then I can put that into I can start to see that in my world. Or I can understand that like this is in me, like there's a resistance within me, and that like already by feeling this, I know there's the possibility of this energy taking form, taking shape. So what do I need to do to lessen that, you know, and to detach from that in a sense? So that's really awesome. And yeah, that's awesome. And
that's
I
why.
relate that. Oh, keep going. Sorry.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're totally fine. I like stopped and then I got a new thing, and I like to refer to like you know, Jesus Christ. Jesus was a person, right? You know what I mean? We channeled this Christ energy and brought it to the world supposedly for the first time, you know, and that very well may be true, but we don't recognize that concept or that consciousness that was being channeled through, and that principle enough, and that it's actually like most religions have a similar essence to them of like that inner light. And it really relates to what you were saying about quantum physics and photons and like that process. I can't remember, I don't know it as well as you do, but just to relate it back to that it is that inner light, and to project that light outwards as if, you know, external things do anything more than tell you about your own shit. Is almost like opposing your own light or your own source.
I had a friend recently that put this perfectly, and he said that
somebody needs to turn their YouTube channel off.
Sorry, say that again.
Somebody was echoing because it might be someone who came in that wasn't muted, had their YouTube going along with the chat. So I was letting them know, at least you have to either mute it or close it, or that echo will continue. And just use the Hangouts now. And continue what you were saying. I think the echo's gone now.
Yeah, so my friend recently said that, you know, when you go to specific places, it's almost like similar energies go there to kind of collect together, you know? Like we were at this kind of cool little vegan place nearby, and like we could feel that there's just like this similar energy in that place, and that's that's the way I view things now, like with my own observation, is like there's blocks of energy and similar vibrations and everywhere that you go, in places geographically, and even in like restaurants, because there's an energy that's built it in the first place. The person that had the vision and entangled with whatever they put the energy into will be vibrating at their energy. So yeah, it goes back to what you are vibrating at is what you're going to be producing and creating and contributing to into society and the environment. So that's why religions, it's the same exact thing. Like they have the same exact dynamic, and I have another video about this on my channel. It dives way into depth about this, but religions have the same exact structure as the narcissistic family dynamic, because most religions were based off of multiple fears, and it's not in any way to shame them, it's just what it is. They created those things. Like that's why people view, say for example, the LDS religion, they view it as a business. It's because the people that created it in the first place,
literally.
yeah,
It's
the people that created
authoritarianism.
it. Sorry.
No, I interrupted. I was just saying it's like spiritual authoritarianism.
Yeah, exactly. They created it based off of fears of poverty. And that's why narcissism can be created from a multitude of things. It's like abuse of any kind, like psychological, emotional, sexual type of traumas, and poverty, because all of them are based around fear, right? So let's take like Joseph Smith, for example. He went through extreme poverty when he was younger. So if a fear of money is driving a person to create an organization or a religion or something like that, then they're going to base it off of that fear, and that's where it becomes a money-making machine, just to ease them. It's not of any fault. Like, and that's why people have got to stop shaming them and going out and projecting their own shame on these things. It's just what it is, you know. Just choose
like
not
that
to be a
you
part
were
of it.
speaking directly to me on that point, because it's really funny. I've run into that, and I just think what you said is very true. Is like, in a sense, it's only bothering me because I'm still bothered by it. You know? Wow.
Yeah, it's hard to get out of that trap, because especially when you come out of the mentality and start to become conscious and maybe see the truth of things. Yeah, your first reaction is like,
to like,
wow,
oh my God, everybody has
you.
to know. and they're being taken advantage of. But what you said about there's nothing wrong with our desires to feel comforted, and that's what these systems, at least in a spiritual manner, seem to provide. However, I am still getting rid of that impulse, and I think it is a lot of the dying savior. So Crowley talked about this a lot, especially in his version of the Hangman in the tarot, right? And how he, like that he's the beast and all this shit, and that like bringing in this new aeon. And what it was actually saying is, this era of a dying god or a dying savior is over, and that concept of scapegoating, literally, the blood of the lamb or Christ on the cross, like that era is over with. You know what I mean? And I feel like it's hard because you don't want to push somebody into like their own revelation too quickly, or like before they're ready for it, and they'll snap and go crazy, you know what I mean? But you don't want them to miss out. But I guess it's just
Christ now. The risen.
What'd you say?
We're in the era of the risen Christ now, not the dying Christ.
Exactly. And I think that's why else revelation trips people up, is like, okay, wait, this is from the viewpoint of a dying like era of a dying way of thinking. You know what I mean? This is like death to the god of death. You know what I mean? Of course it's gonna be a fucking shit show, but it's metaphoric and it's not, we don't really have to like go through it here. But I guess it's just, it's
Well, to an
really good
extent,
that we got to talk and I got to have that realization. So thank you.
but to an extent, we do have to have our tribulation, because I watched my dad die recently, and he hadn't done his shadow work throughout his life because he didn't know that he had to. He didn't know. And so he was doing it all at the last minute on his deathbed, and he was going through his trials and his tribulations all at once. And that's when you have your tribulation individually on your deathbed or as you're dying. That's your own personal tribulation.
Right. Right. Hi, Angela. We have somebody else that just joined in.
Hello.
Hello, everyone I've never met before.
Josslyn, where
Hey.
do you think we go from here?
So the very first thing, because so first off, it's exactly what you're saying. You know, you can't push someone's spiritual awakening, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. You cannot
Whatever
push
you're
them
trying to
before
push
they're
on
ready. But I do feel like the very first step, at least to creating what I envision, like more of like a utopia, and, you know, like that's something that I dream about and wanting to help contribute to getting to. The first step is the education part, because I won't lie, and this is always my weakness, where I get caught up in shaming and, you know, projecting my own shame, is I do get very frustrated with the whole psychology department, and that this information isn't being talked about, like these dynamics that we grew up with, like how our parents are teaching us, because that right
Or
there,
our
the
parents are being tricked
education.
into you.
Sorry, say that again.
Or our parents are being tricked into, because it's not to get too tangenty, but my friend who is going to college to become a teacher, and I'm asking him like, okay, so what do you do in college? And he's like, oh, actually teachers don't, they learn how to read from a book and they study psychology.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really interesting, because it was my first grade teacher who suggested to my parents that I had ADHD, and started this process of basically like social shame, you know what I'm saying? Or wanting to interact with people, wanting to fucking talk, you know?
Yes.
So that is absolutely like, yeah, no. And psychology originated as the study of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I took a psychology class, and that is the fundament of it. Why is it so separate? Like, that's a really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. I won't lie. Like, I always have to calm myself down about it, because it frustrates me that we have these class systems in society, right? We've got poverty and all of this, and we've already got that structure set up. And then you add on to be able to understand your own psychology, and to understand the way you were raised, and to understand your brain, you have to have a lot of money to just educate yourself on it. That, I'm not going to lie, it's one thing that really triggers me. It's something I'm still working on. So to me, that's also my whole goal, is just like, I do get worried about getting in trouble, because I'm not a psychologist. I just have a lot of experience and, you know, a lot of self-taught, but I'm like determined to get it out there, all the information out there, so that people can start understanding themselves and the way they were raised, and healing. You know, like I will not stop until, yeah.
Hey, Omega, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, Omega.
Hey. Yeah, you're speaking about where's the next place that we actually go, and you brought up education. I thought it was actually true, proven to myself to accept that is a place that we do need to go to. There are many people that are sort of still getting hip to this no bias type deal, like just accepting everything that is around for other people, getting used to everybody else's paradigm with what structure that they're within. For the most part, I think we got to learn how to be ourselves, for one. If you come to somebody and tell them, hey, let's go play, they're like, play, that means drop everything. I'm like, no, play is really serious. It actually takes an accordance to actually have a real smile that actually is coming from your true being, you know, based on what you're doing. But of course, how I see what that's just one aspect of where we need to go to. We got to get used to being ourselves for one thing. Yeah. Nonetheless,
Absolutely.
I think we can't create things based off of old paradigms, things that, you know, like to get away from, to run away from, to make this place that feels just good to be within, because you don't want to feel bad from the other thing. Yeah, as you brought up a lot, Josslyn, scapegoating. We shouldn't build another scapegoat, is what I'm saying, basically.
Yeah,
We should
totally.
create environments where everybody's able to find themselves, you know.
Right. I think we should focus
not
on
in
the
With the golden calf.
things like, you know, officially. And that's going to take a lot of, I don't think it really takes much. I think we just got to get used to hearing our tune, our natural tune directly. Just sitting within our own self for a minute, for a couple minutes. It takes a while. Like if I stop working right now, it take me like 2 weeks or so to get to my natural tune, you know,
Yeah.
to actually get in flow. But for another person that's been doing this, you know, got to understand, people have been doing this kind of lifestyle for eons, you know. So we got a lot of karma to, I wouldn't even call it karma, but just things to recollect, things that they've been doing for a very long time. You come across somebody mad at them because they don't understand your ideal, your points. It's just ridiculous. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I totally agree with you, what you said, like being with yourself. Yeah, like it's so weird to me that we're all obsessed with being with another person and dating people, but like who dates themselves? Like, dude, I spend a lot of time with myself. I talk to myself. I make voice recordings where I just talk to myself. Like that's what I do and people think that's insane. But I'm like, that's the most normal thing to me because I date myself on a constant daily basis, you know?
Right. Definitely was always thinking about like, what if I started scheduling actual dates with, although I move intuitively, so I just go around and just get out of nowhere, figure it out on my own. I'll even tell people that I want to meet up with, especially if they're women. I said, hey, I'm going to be here. I don't know if you will, but if you want to go, we'll meet there. You know, I'll figure out something to have fun there. But that's it. And I just leave it at that. For the most part, I even told myself I don't even want to be in a relationship for X amount of years just because of what I'm doing. And I know that other people need to go through a certain process for themselves. And I don't want to be that scapegoat, for one thing, you know. That's just one aspect. But I know showing up a little bit and letting people know that they have other options for themselves. Like I see you, you know, I see people by just energy. So I know like just giving that off a little bit, that there are more things that they can actually do and achieve. It helps them get used to just hearing that they're okay with themselves. You know, sometimes people like to hear that outside coming from another person. Also, on the other flip side, interacting with people happens to be one of the best ways to, as long as you're not tying or reacting, I would say more so interacting is the key, you know, interacting when you're creating the concepts that you're dealing with people. For the most part, I say, especially within the spiritual community, what I noticed when I went around so many different groups, it was almost on a whole nother, it was every dimension fighting each other. That's what it was. And I know going forward to a utopian kind of place, it's a mindset. It's more of a conscious being for most, you know, more than anything. We're gonna have to create it within ourselves, connecting back. Communicating is the biggest thing that we have not been doing. That's why we feel separate.
We're doing it now. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
You know, who would have thought?
True.
Who would have thought? So yeah, keep going. I'm just saying, like, that's really what I feel like it's like we're like building up our thesis for this, like, and I wouldn't even call it like an agenda, or it's not like anything that's been done before. And the excitement of like all the synchronicities, everything seems to really be coming to a head right now in terms of like, I don't know what it's going to look like or what form exactly it's going to take, but hearing that like all of our intentions seem to be so like in the fucking right spot, like the perfect, like that sweet spot that we're just about to take off with this. And I just totally lost my train of thought. It's just, it's really kind of shocking, or like not shocking, but like,
I'd say what we're pushing for is like we're getting used to understanding new. Like, what is it to do something new? You know, I think you know, for the most, at least that's what I'm trying to figure is how to get people that want to create with me.
right.
You know,
Yeah, we're
trying
creating the new heaven and the new earth right now.
Where'd you say?
We're creating the new heaven and the new earth right now.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
How awesome is that?
It's very,
Yeah,
very awesome. So like,
I think it's just helping people so we can get the collective to start like kind of choosing into this reality in this new way, you know, because the more observations that are on this new way, like this more loving approach to life and a different direction, a new structure that we can build in society, like the more it's going to build it. But yeah, it's a combination of collecting the consciousness to put their observation on that new way of being, you know?
Right.
Agreed.
I'm shuffling some cards, guys. I have some sacred.
oh,
sacred.
hell yeah. Like, as a
So-
tarot reader, it's so awesome to when other people read cards, you know what I mean? Because it's like that, like, I do it and it's nothing cool, but to see somebody else do it is like, fuck.
No, you're cool, baby. You're cool.
Oh.
As I am being a gypsy myself, I don't own any tarot cards at the moment because I feel I have not been gifted the right ones, so I'm looking for them. But I have some Sacred Earth Oracle cards, and I've drawn 3 cards as we were talking just momentarily, but I'd like to draw 2 more while we're all taking a moment of intention. Because I think our intention needs to be a universal love to transmute and transcend this 3D BS bullshit paradigm. So
I love you so much.
I love you, babies. Love you all. We're all just love lights here, shining our different human energies and wavelengths, right? Okay,
Right.
so what we have is balance. Okay. I should probably show these to you, but like, I'm so shy.
Don't be shy.
Okay. I'm shy. This is
Yay.
balance. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's groovy. And these cards are freaking amazing. They're the Sacred Earth Oracle cards. Okay.
Oh,
So first I'm going to read balance to us because I really can't tell you what the heck they mean. Balance. You ready here? The tendency or treachery of a safe but unstimulating environment. Denying a problem worsens an outcome. Avoidance of the tough stuff causes dependence, stagnation, or loss of self. Make mistakes with the purpose of learning from them. Aim to manage stress rather than eliminating it. Minimize damage by turning a difficulty to your advantage. A challenge brings needed incentive. And it says, challenge helps you face and overcome fear. The challenge is a blessing that will in some way make you stronger and more resilient. Open yourself up to the light of the world. Draw it into you. Be empowered by it and channel it into your environment for all that benefit from. Face all that comes your way and trust your ability to make change for the greater good.
amen.
The other 3 cards I pulled were dependability. Okay. It's that one.
Those cards are
was like-
gorgeous.
So freaking groovy.
Those
Yeah, I
cards are so
Those are
beautiful.
gorgeous.
And that
I went to
description
an
was
amazing
like, oh,
store.
crap.
So dependability was the first card that I drew of the main reading here. Okay, something that sounds too good to be true probably is. Choose dependability over grandiose promises. Stay focused and stick to your goals. Stating something loudly and repeatedly does not make it true. The truth always has a way of revealing itself. You don't need to get involved. Turn to or be someone that you can trust. Listen and respect all points of view, but in the end, you must be true to yourself. Put your faith in the greatest compassion of your heart and find comfort, knowing that love is the greatest of all. In the arms of Mother Earth, you can find acceptance, clarity, and beauty you can depend on. The law of love is absolute. And then, excuse me, they have some insights on this, and it's freaking amazing. Like, because it has an earthly meaning, a spiritual meaning, and then an insight. So the insight I wanted to read on this one particular says, rocks do not levitate and planets don't swing out of orbit. Nature is dependable. In space and on Earth, atoms follow the same rules. Light travels at the same speed everywhere, be it from a distance of the stars or the flame of a birthday candle. Water boils at 100 degrees. You can depend on gravity, the rotation of Earth, and that your forgotten coffee will soon cool to room temperature. Nature has laws it follows without exception. There's not one set of laws for the mountaintop and another for the valleys. Stars abide by the same laws as the grains of sand. It is nature's loyalty to these laws that gives Earth the order it needs to support life. Outside of these is life is chaos and miracles. Before you accept a truth as absolute, put it to the test. Is it true for the weak as it is for the strong? Is it right as for the rich as it is for the poor? The laws of the universe have no bias. We can depend on them regardless of age, wealth, culture, or status. So that goes along to our discussion on the religions and how, as from my point of view, all religions are all the same. So our last key is moderation, our card here.
Was I the only one covered in goosebumps from that last card?
No, you guys are like on the verge of tears every fucking time we get on here. Also, oh my goodness gracious.
Wow.
I know. So this one is moderation, and I'm going to draw one more after this to put a cumulative, altogether perspective on this. This moderation card is freaking killer awesome. So I'm going to show it to you here. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Is that groovy?
Oh.
Like,
Gorgeous.
wow. Yeah.
Dude, I want those.
I have the very last card too. It's revision. So moderation says the earthly meaning, a coping mechanism, a helper or an attitude that has served you has reached its limit. So we need to grow stronger. The impulse to pull back from a situation or relationship, a stray word or action offers a taste of things to come. Letting go of moderation reveals more than is expected. Resist or be resistant to adding insult to injury. When you remove emotions, what is left? Love. Love is the only thing that you entered into this world with. It is the only thing that you will take with you when you leave, and it is our true essence. Everything else is transient, like clouds passing by, here for a moment and then gone. Look within, and you will see that the love is not distance, but it is an ocean of light within you. And then the last card I'm going to show you here, it freaks me out, is revision. So
Whoa.
we need to revise our understandings of life. And like on this card, you can see he's looking down, and all the threads are interconnected, and like it's just wow, right?
That
I mean,
like a renewing of the mind card.
right. And you can see like he's got all these entanglements here. I don't know if you can see all that.
Yeah,
Can you see
you
that?
can see it.
What's this one called?
Okay. This one's
Sorry, my mom-
revision. It's revision. And this is the book. This is the cards that I got. The Sacred
Summer.
Earth Oracle.
Will you message me back? Because, dude, I
Of
want
course.
those. Bad.
You know it. So revision says your body remembers the trauma, the closeness and the love and the fear and the exuberance of your full history, even when your mind does not. Bring a memory to surface. Align your current self with the knowledge that is stored in your body. Go deeper and challenge yourself to go beyond it. A study of the past will help you recognize and break a limiting cycle. The meaning of creation is stored within the ground you walk on. Still your mind, relax, and close your eyes. Feel the timeless energy of our Mother Earth. There is one love, one breath, one dream flowing and evolving through you and this beautiful planet.
Oh,
Touch her, think of her, and feel her all around you, and know that she is inside your heart. And I like I say that everybody's love lights, and that we all have to share our light with everyone on this earth to shine light on their darkest moments, so that we can go through our struggles openly, because someone else is also struggling. And the
yeah.
struggles that we have already overcome, we have stuff thus far survived all of our days. So who says we're not going to survive this moment? And even though being my gypsy self, I will not know where I'm going to sleep at night, but I will walk in the forest and enjoy every moment of that being, enjoy every single thing that I can. And so as we take time to see what's wrong with the world, we have to take time to see what's right with the world,
Yeah.
and come together in a place of love, so that we can bring it all together, and not judge everything. Not say, well, this is wrong, this religion here, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I've been baptized like 6 or 7 or 8 times. So I'm probably not going to hell unless I make it myself, and I already have. So let's overcome those who we are, because here I am. I'm a love light, and I love you all. And that's what we need to do.
And
there I
the
am.
baptism is when you're crying from a broken heart, so that's the true baptism. So we've all been baptized more than 6, 7, or 8 times.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Summer Dawn, I just want to fucking give you the utmost gratitude right now for that
That was
wonderful.
perfect.
Holy shit! Like, you just knocked my socks off. Thank you so much for sharing.
Sorry. Sorry, not sorry. I have a tendency to do that.
No, don't be sorry at all. It's like it's the whole.
He was led to do
I
it.
remember telling people, like, I have no way to back this up. I have no way to back this up. They could tell me basically, like, it's a dog, people are always going to be like this. And I'm like, I just have this inkling that if I change, you know what I mean? And if we all change, you know what I mean? Like, the world will start to reflect that. And so here it is, you know what I mean? Like, fulfilling.
That's what we all have to do. Yes, absolutely. We all have to be that love light and that reflector to shine bright.
It's just crazy how
love
it works.
Yeah, Summer, seriously, like those cards were perfect. I was seriously getting so many, and you totally know. Yeah, I was getting so many insights from all of that. Thank you so much for having the inspiration to draw those cards. Those were perfect.
Yeah,
Also,
we're
we have a new participant. Sorry to interrupt, but T. Sean White. Hey, how's it going?
Hello, Patty One.
Is he sideways on purpose?
Yeah, Ty, Sean, fix your camera.
That kind of makes me dizzy.
You're crooked, brother. You're crooked.
There we go. That's better. But being that we're in Hanukkah now and Christmas is next, it's about the Festival of Lights. It's about shining your light and being the star at the top of the tree. So, I mean, amazing.
Holy crap.
That's right. That's awesome.
I love you. Gosh.
I just came here to listen. So my camera was
What'd you
inverted.
say?
I came here to listen. That's why my camera was inverted. So.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for being here, though. We really,
Hey
it's
guys,
just
I'd
so
like
cool
to,
how
can
this
I-
stuff is
can I
developing.
ask?
Oh, go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm new and I'm really appreciating everything that you guys are sharing. And I wanted to mention Summer Dawn, the other day when I connected with you on the Discord, you were talking about kind of like our semantics and whatnot, but the eloquence that every single one of you have when you're speaking from, your heart and your highest self, it's like releasing judgment that we can only pull through when we're in the state of flow. And that comes from inclusiveness and releasing all of the harsh thoughts that we've acquired and adopted through life that we're like, wait a minute, I'm good enough to share this, and these people deserve to hear it too, for the sake of expansion. So I'm really grateful for all of you.
Oh, and
Hi, Angela. By the way, I didn't know you were even in the Discord. That's awesome. Hi.
Yeah, my little what do they call it? The handle. It's Love Ange. That's me.
Oh, okay, okay, nice. Yeah, I've seen you around.
for you, everybody here. So like, Joss, you were mentioning earlier being afraid of like, the whole counseling therapy kind of deal, right? And in most states, I actually found this out a few months ago because I was looking this up. Like, I went to college for like computer information systems, ended up not even graduating with a degree and like $15,000 in student loan debt. So like, I'm definitely not going to get a diploma, for psychology so that I can help others, right? Like, that's just not how it is. So I was looking it up. And in most states, there's a new concept called peer support therapy and peer support counseling. And it's essentially that, and you can become like, not a license, but a lot of states have free programs, free training that you can actually take to just kind of get like a better understanding of what it is and like get jobs counseling others without a degree in psychology. And so it's based on you giving advice or counsel in something that you have a lived experience of. So something that you yourself have been through. If as long as you're talking from that point, and I mean, look it up and understand like all of the rules around it. But in my state, or at least in Washington, you don't need a degree or any kind of licensing to operate as a peer support counselor. So
that's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I found that out and I was like, holy shit, how long has this been here? Like, that's really cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that because I would love something like that just so, because I always have to back myself and put disclaimers up like crazy. And yeah, I would love something that
do that so much. Like,
that'd be amazing.
Especially with your, most of us have backgrounds with mental illness, right? This is where all the shit that has happened to us growing up ends up being like our fucking ticket in the door. Like, that's a big, like, you can legit like counsel others that may be struggling with borderline personality disorder because you yourself have actual record, of getting that diagnosis. And it's like, it just makes it so, it's awesome that like, I'm so glad that I found that and that I'm able to share that with you all so that we can kind of like take a sigh and like not have to worry about that so much. But again, like look into it because there's always, I'm not explaining it word for word. So, and it's different state by state.
A coworker of mine mentioned the crisis text lines. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, but it's basically a similar concept, but you do it over a computer, like a personal computer, and it's nationwide. So you are texted onto your computer from their phone. And again, it's always from, they're training you, they're giving you, like, hey, if you don't know what to say, here's an option, but it's always based off of your own personal experience. Yeah, there's a lot of outreach things like that. I like the one that you're talking about, though. That sounds really good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really, really great. Wow. So where do you think, okay, and this is kind of going to be, I guess, starting to wrap it up at like 2 hours. So it's like, I'm not trying to be like, oh, we have a time limit, but I do like have to, I'm doing all this stuff online and it's so cool, but like, I also am recognizing that like, okay, this is just the digital stuff. And once I get like this down pat, it's not going to take so much time, and I still need to like figure out how to implement all of this in the real world. So I do have to like learn how to time manage. So like, we're at like 110 minutes now. So just at 10 minutes, I'm going to have to get out of here. Sorry, I'm so awkward about saying that. Anyway, so what are your guys' ideas for like how we can really take this outward now, beyond the digital sphere, and maybe perhaps even bringing this type of interaction, digital interaction, even bigger, if that makes sense.
True. I'd say actually what I'm doing is coming to the digital phase for most of this stuff. Everywhere I do go, I've sort of already have been interacting with people like this. On everywhere I go, it's always, well, actually recently I sort of slowed down on purpose so I can start interacting online with everybody, meeting people in the group. For the most part, get on these lives and everything. But in person, I'm always sifting around with playing with certain words to reveal who they are. Like people that I come in contact with, just conversation. And then for the most part, I'm usually saying some crazy shit like, what if we did this? And what if we did that? Why don't we try something real quick? And I suggest things and move around with the ideas. I play with in a sense, I play with the mind. I say, I look at things and I don't react to anything with bias. So in the same sense, it's like a guiding of a trail. I'm like leaving trails for the most part. And I wanted to get to a part where I can do this more on a consistent basis. Like me, I'm already planning to leave my job and just figure it out. I don't, that's how I usually move. But I'm going to be traveling around to get around people more, like on a vast scale, while using the social media at the same time and everything.
Yeah, I know, Omega. I totally want to get in your van and go with you. It's so awesome.
Dude, like a total sabbatical. And it's like I remember being in high school and like making Pinterest boards of like hippie vans and like decked out mobile campers and stuff, and it's like, oh my god, that would be so cool, like and like just so free, and
that was the point right there.
Yeah,
it was like a what if. It was like I was like, well, I do a lot of crazy stuff, and I'm like, I get complacent. I get really I'm usually moving at 2,000 miles an hour, so, and I just have been moving for the lately, so I was like, I gotta go do something, like, I'm like, it's like, what if I just went to people, like, there's plenty of people with like ridiculous amounts of resources. I was like, what if I had nothing and I just went to New York and then met like a whole bunch of people, like just anybody. If it was just one person, I would still do it. You know what I'm saying? If it was just me there that I'm meeting, basically my idea was to go meet myself. It's like, I know because I've been around. So I said, how would I want to play? So and I said, I like to play with nothing. So
I call them my twinsies. You're one of my twins, Omega. I call them my twinsies. You're one of my twins. Yeah. I'll come get you, Josie. We're gonna go for a ride.
Yeah.
Zamara.
Let's do it.
That's the point.
I'm telling you.
That was the whole idea.
Miracles happen every day.
Let's be all gypsies and go around and do tarot readings and
exactly.
Singing on the street corner.
That was what my idea was. I was actually going to be explaining this on the paradigm shift too, so I'll go more in depth. But it's something I've been doing with my friend since it's my brother actually, but we're actually like twin flames. So we play around with bringing out character, So we decided we always wondered like, how come we don't see people like being their full self? We've always been asking this whole question for a very long time, but coming up to the point, we wanted to make like cosplaying a thing that is in everyday app, already. It's like, why come we don't act out our actual way we want to look, the way you want to be as your true character that you play, you choose, so it was like we started going into character design like a game and how you would interact with people in mini games that you play. So we go to like different events and we just basically, act as showmen or something of some sorts. But I've always had a certain aspect of how I interact with people or attract people. So we sort of work off each other playing these different characters, but we got so many jokes on a tangent. It's a different aspect of way of interacting with people, but it makes you forget. You don't forget, you just keep going, on the sense when you're around these kind of energy. You ever get around a kid and they're trying to tell you their story about something that they created, they leave out details and stuff, but they keep pulling you along, so, and that's the whole idea is we'll hit this again, maybe. But the point is In the same sense, I wanted to see, because I've been to like a couple Comic Cons one time, and I was like, how come no one creates their own character? You know, I looked at the gaming community. How come nobody creates their own character? They took that out of gaming, so we sort of play these default characters. We see this in life. We see these default, the simple entrepreneur that just wants to get a bunch of money, all that good stuff, all that fun stuff. That's not really that fun. I said, what if we were creating our own character? So that's how I bring it out to the world is I'm creating a game that's actually here, and we actually get to choose. All I do is spark people. I just find them and I meet their child, basically. I just let them know.
Yes,
I love that.
I actually, right after I joined Discord, I was only on there for like 3 days. And I had this dream that I remembered, which I usually don't remember my dreams or anything else. But anyway, so I had this dream that I remembered that I actually met certain individuals and I had no idea what they look like. And now that I see what they look like, I'm like, oh, so that was you in my dream. So I did go see you. Like, hey, how you doing? Did I tell you this in my dream? Hey, Justin, did you know? It's like, no, but I think I know. I'm like, well, when you know, and you just know. So I had the dream that I traveled around and just did my little gypsy self thing and met all these people that I have no idea who they are. I still don't know who they are, but so it will come to pass as it comes to pass. Mm-hmm.
So they're not the people from Discord?
No, they are. And some of them, I still don't know what their faces look like just because I'm technologically challenged. But yeah, it's bizarre.
Well, and that's another area that, like, I was really thinking about this after our conversation just yesterday morning, that, like, engaging in this way, like, this is a perfect example of, like, a way that as a group of people with very unique interests, we can come together and support each other and show each other different ways we deal with certain things that may come up in our work. And where was I going with that? Jesus. Just, it's so freaking crazy how simple it is. Oh, and Enjoy Being in the live chat was saying that it's a shame that people don't have time to always watch these full, hours and hours of video, but it goes by so damn fast that, like, there's I don't even question it. People can tune in and kind of like skip around. I do that a lot, and the point is that we're like setting a template for something that is yet to be defined. And it is something special that each of us has taken so much time out just to interact with each other, and it means, to me personally, so much. And I really appreciate each and every one of you, because every time somebody new comes on, every time we continue to show up, it's just that energy continues to change and continues to, like, grow and expand and become, like, beyond my dream of utopia, beyond my ideal relationship. Like, it's everybody's kind of, it's just awesome. And I really appreciate Josslyn, you for your interview, and I don't know, to call it testimony, and everybody here for chiming in afterwards and having this just really dynamic connection. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to say thank you for this opportunity, and I'm just so glad that we connected and that, like, this is going where it is in the direction. I love what Brendan said a while ago, like, you do miss out on opportunities when you don't reach out and connect with people, and really just, like, because sometimes it'll maybe make you afraid to, you've got these preconceived notions about certain people and the way they look, and when you move past those blocks, like, you make connections that are just like yum, delicious. And I'm so grateful for Brendan for like giving the avenue and the opportunity for us to all connect. I
Yes.
think I'll always
Absolutely.
be really
Yeah.
grateful for him.
Ditto.
May I
Oh my
interject for a
gosh.
moment?
No. Yeah, I need to. Good call. That was so good. Like, you know what I mean? Because I'm like, oh crap, I should probably add that into the description as well.
May I interject for a moment?
Sorry, what was that?
May I interject for a moment?
Oh,
So
sure.
there is this amazing book that within my journey I came across, completely random. And so what was happening at one point in my journey, I was kicking it with someone. That's an eventful journey. And what happened is they invite me to Thanksgiving dinner, and I found they're honest into alternative modalities of healing. And I was like, this is interesting. It's peculiar. Because I got into chakra, the chakra system and all that jazz. I found that interesting. So I was like, let's see how this plays out. And then she hands me this book right here. It's good stuff. This is like a magic book of like, it's kind of like a cross between Western medicine and like ancient East modalities of like healing and their science and medicine, things like that. It's called Energy Medicine by Donna Eden, and it's amazing. It deals with like the Olympic system. It deals with like it also deals with like directing like alternative ways of like just dealing with trauma, and it also is suggestively dealing with like energies in the body. So it even has like the chakra wheel in here. It's absolutely amazing and divine. And she introduced me to this kind of actual, and it actually has like a message within the book. And this is like a personal book. She gave it to me, and I just thought it was really interesting. And I was gonna tell Summer about this, and just be like, hey, you should read this.
Not to interrupt
Because,
you, Sean, but I have an appointment that I have to make, and we're at 2 hours. So I really hate to interject here, but what I can say is that I will look this up. I'll put this on my to-do list for today, add it to my planner, and if you're around for our next live stream, or if you want to connect with me in the meantime, we can set up a platform to actually like talk about it. So I'll definitely check that out. But I do have to run. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Tashawn. I'm gonna look into that book. It sounds awesome.
Right.
One love, beautiful soul beings, of course. And I can share to make your day better.
In the SpongeBob world, 2 hours later.
Right.
Wow. Zamara, we're crazy. Tea time.
Yeah, and definitely to anyone listening, like join the paradigm shift in Discord chat. Like it will transform your life, like for sure.
Pew, 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 pew. Love light lasers. Pew, pew. Shoot love at you.
All right. With that, I'm gonna bid you all much love, and yes, hit us up in the Paradigm Shift Discord. Later.
Yeah, love you, Zamara. Thank you.
Love you. Thank you so much.
Bye, guys.
All right. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.